Welcome back, guys, to episode 3 of Galactic Outpost. Hope you enjoyed that $1 million budget that we put into that first opening scene for the Millennium Falcon. Without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, one of the first things that I did was, well, build the Millennium Falcon. If the graphics look a little bit interesting or maybe not up to par for this one scene, it's just because I had a screen record on my iPad. I didn't have my mom's laptop or my laptop available. Just had to work with what I had. I'm complaining, I had to record it on an M2 iPad Pro 11-inch. Only thing that might be a little bit hard with this episode is I feel like I got a lot of my chatting out in episodes 1 and 2. Now I just need to figure out what to talk about in episode 3, and I don't want to rehash a lot of the same stuff that I talked about in episode 1 and 2, especially when it comes to scale, but I'll be that guy. And obviously the Millennium Falcon that I'm building is a lot smaller to scale just because it needs to fit. The plaza is not really huge. I think we're working with 4 blocks wide, and obviously the NPCs need to be able to walk through once I finally open up the gates for the land to be open. My idea is to have this land open either by the end of August or the beginning of September. I'm actually, after this video, I would say probably halfway done, especially since later in this video you'll see that I started working on the track and actually built the entire track for Hyperspace Chase, which is the main roller coaster for the entire land. It's actually set in episodes 4 and 6 when they destroy the Star Destroyer. The Death Star, where they destroy the Death Star. Alright. You'll be seeing that later, but one of the things I wanted to do in this episode is obviously work on adding more buildings and adding more to the actual architecture and the rock work of the entire park. Because right now it's very open. I guess the north side of the land was kind of just barren. There was nothing there. And after this episode, you're gonna see a lot has been added. There is also another little hidden thing that I decided to add. It's not like a secret room. It's not like a secret tunnel or whatever. It's actually that one of the rock works, which I think it will be showing pretty soon, is actually supposed to be a hidden castle. I try to do the rock work at a certain angle. When you look at it, it looks like the main castle for the park instead of a little hidden Mickey or a hidden whatever, which I still need to put in a hidden Mickey. So I think almost every single land has at least one, which maybe if you guys want to visit my park, try to find all the hidden Mickeys. I think there's anywhere between 10 to 15 hidden Mickeys throughout the park. I mean, I guess I could give you a hint by one, but anyway. So another thing that I decided to work on is to add, well, a lot of this episode is adding, just gonna make sure it's still recording on my Apple Watch. This episode focuses on a lot of buildings and rock work and nature and adding ships. So the first ship that I built was obviously the Millennium Falcon, and later you'll see that I started working on the First Order TIE Echelon. I know it's in Hollywood Studios because I've seen it, and that's typically where they do their little stage show. I had to do a miniature version here. There's probably not going to be a stage show, but I might add a Darth Vader or some kind of little character minifigure in there just to add a little bit of life to the park. It turned out pretty good. It was one of my favorite ships that I built. And then I also kind of worked on the exit queue for Galactic Rebellion ride. It's starting to get a little bit boring. Guys, not the video. The video's not boring, I swear. It's just talking to myself, talking to a camera can sometimes feel a little crazy. And then especially since I don't want to keep glancing over at the video as it's playing. Well, you know what? I could have just had it on the TV. I just realized that, but I know it's probably going to be a lot more laggier. And then I also built the queue, which is coming from one of like the tall towers for Hyperspace Chase. The queue, after I placed down the actual track, ended up being a little bit crazy just because I didn't realize how, well, I knew I was working with little space, but I didn't realize how little the space is, because when I do my blueprints, I'm just drawing lines and boxes, and I'm not really thinking about the actual scale and how it relates, because I'm really just looking at a blueprint of just some flat land, and it's kind of hard to look at scale just because I don't have like square for scale or something, which I feel like I should do, which would kind of be nice, but it's more of like an idea, kind of a concept really blueprint than it is like a to the T blueprint, because typically the idea is just go off of that blueprint and then change up to be whatever else they end up being. Back to the hyperspace chase ride. Once I laid down the track, I also did the queue, and then the exit queue was going to be different. Originally, it was supposed to tie in with the Galactic Rebellion exit because of the little space, and really even just getting the initial queue, the entrance queue to the ride was really difficult. I decided to make the exit go into the market, which I feel like actually kind of made a lot more sense. It's almost like they're walking out into a gift shop and maybe they can use the restrooms because I added restrooms and get a refreshment. Plus later you'll see that there's a lightsaber shop. Spoiler. One of the things that did suck about this episode is as I was building the Death Star, which is featured in the hyperspace chase ride, and I started building the Star Destroyers. I also built a lot more, but as I was recording, this was actually now on my mom's laptop. She got a call and I didn't realize that if you get a call, it stops the screen recording. I actually lost about an hour to an hour and a half of screen recording, which included me building the X-Wing, which is kind of near the east entrance to Galactic Outpost, near the restrooms where Oga's Cantina is going to be. And then I also built a Star Destroyer shooting at you once you get out of hyperspace on Hyperspace Chase. I also added a lot of those TIE Fighters, which building the TIE Fighter was a lot of fun, and I wish I got to record it, which I thought it was, but it wasn't recording. I also did the outside part of the hyperspace chase. It's basically you're in space and then you kind of go through like hyperspace real quick, and then we're outside and then we go back into hyperspace to get back into space. But yeah, it actually turned out really nice, and I wish I got it all recorded, but I had to do just a little overview for you guys instead. At least it wasn't as bad as the other time when I was recording Vesuvius, which lost I think 2 hours worth of video. We got it figured out. I got it figured out. All right. See, guys, again. Just kidding. Once I got a lot of that stuff figured out, I started working on the market, which again has refreshment shops. There's 2 fruit stalls. There's restrooms, and then I started building a lightsaber shop, which I think actually turned out really cool. Plus, the monorail goes above that market, and I felt like that was kind of perfect. You know, it just kind of gives it that kind of like grungy, kind of like the sketchy little markets as you would expect in Star Wars. Speaking of Star Wars, if you know who is watching, I guess I was told that I can't be a Star Wars fan. I can only enjoy Star Wars. I just can't call myself a fan, which I guess technically, yeah, it would be wrong for me to say I'm like a super fan. I do enjoy it. I'm not into the huge lore, and there are things about Star Wars that I enjoy. But if you're watching and you know who you are, I'm not a fan, I swear. I have to apparently get permission from them to be a fan. Worked on the market, added a lot of little details just to make it look nice. I actually added some awnings to try to reduce the sun. In my head, I like to think that this would be located in a place kind of like Florida, because I've been in Walt Disney World and I live in Florida for the past 5 years. I know that the less sun exposure you can get during the day, the better. Even just think about it. When you go to Walt Disney World, on pictures it looks beautiful. I really envy the California parks because their average temperature most of the time is anywhere between 70 to 80 degrees, which is pretty nice. And even though they have like we have really cold days sometimes, and it's really just anywhere between 30 and 60 degrees, which is kind of like a Florida cold, but those barely happen here. But the nice part about all that, you can go out even with the sun being out and it's 70 degrees, you're just wearing a t-shirt or like, you know, light layers, and it's bearable, versus here in Florida when it's like 95 degrees out and the sun's beating down on you and it's humid. Parks look beautiful, especially on pictures. They look really nice, but just being out there for more than 30 minutes, you feel like you're gonna burn up. It's bad, especially during the summer. I can't deny that, you know, I try to be like the biggest like Florida denier, like, no guys, it's not that hot. It is, especially when you're out in the sun. Now, if you have shade or there's cloud coverage, that isn't that bad, just because it's really the sun that makes things worse. Throughout my park, I try to make as many coverings or indoor stuff, especially for the queue, versus being out in the open. I had a lot of fun making Hyperspace Chase, adding the Death Star, the Star Destroyers, the TIE Fighters, adding the X-Wing, adding the First Order TIE Echelon, adding the Millennial Falcon. This has probably been, I would say, one of the most productive building episodes. I got a lot of stuff done. I basically laid down the entire track and did a lot of the interior for the Hyperspace Chase, including the exterior. I also made the entire marketplace. Like, that's finished, that's good to go. That's, you know, there's nothing else I need to do to that. I could honestly see maybe 3 more episodes and this whole entire land being done. And like I said, I would like to have this done by the end of August if possible, or the beginning of September. Obviously, if it's going to be end of August, these episodes come out every almost once a month, just because I try to get in at least anywhere between 8 to 10 hours of video recording before I make it into an episode, because that translates to around 11 to 13 minutes of video. All right, thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you on episode 4, or maybe I'll finally start working on Oga's Cantina, or I'll finish the Hyperspace Chase ride, or something new. We'll see.